how to design a YouTube thumbnail like this one right here in Photoshop, right? I know it's been a long time you've seen a design tutorial on this YouTube channel, but yes, take this one as a gift and let's rule it all right away. Good. So the first thing that we are going to do is we need to gather our resources, and for me, I've gathered the resources. They are right here. I think there are 4 of them, and that is what we are going to be using for this tutorial. And of course, if you want to start, we go to File and go to New. You can use the shortcut Ctrl+N and go to New. Over here, we want to create a YouTube thumbnail, so you're going to use a size of 1920 by 1080, and the unit is pixels, right? Then you put it on landscape over here. So I think let's just name this, I'll just put it YT thumbnail, right? So YT thumbnail, and the background is white, resolution 300. Yeah, I think I'm good to go. So I'll tap on create, and that is what we are going to have over here. Now I mostly like to unlock my background layer by dragging the lock button onto this delete option. Then it becomes a free layer that I can use and manipulate, right? So after this, the first thing that I'm going to do is to bring in one layer of mine, which I'm going to use for this, tutorial, right? So I'm going to bring in the grid over here. All right, so once I have this grid over here, I'm going to enlarge it a little bit to fill the space well for me. And once I'm done with that, I'll just hit enter on my keyboard. Then I can also reduce the opacity of it a little bit to favor me well, right? So I think I'm going to leave it over there for now. Then I'll go ahead and do the next thing that I have to do. The next thing I'm going to do is to create an empty layer over here. And after creating an empty layer, I'll press B on my keyboard, or just go to the brush tool over here, select the brush. And for the color of the brush, I'm going to select something similar to blue over here. I think I'm okay with this, and I have to increase the size of the brush. You can use the close bracket or the square brackets, and you are good to go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to paint over here, and of course I'm going to increase the opacity of the brush a little bit. Then I'll paint over here like this for now. All right, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in my second layer, which is this particular one over here. So I'm going to import it too. All right, so once I have this right here, this is just a YouTube analytic panel that I've downloaded, right? So what I'm going to do is to add a layer mask to it, and this is the layer mask. I'll click on it and it will be added like this. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to reduce the opacity of this, since I don't want it to be that much visible in my design. So let's put it around 41. I think that's okay. So with the layer mask over here selected, I'm going to tap on B. I'm going to hit B on my keyboard, and that's going to bring up the brush tool. And with my opacity like this, and the foreground color being black over here, then I'll go ahead and clean the areas that I don't want. So yes, I'm going to just brush over like this, and the areas that I don't want will go away. So it will level with the numbers at the top over here, and that is exactly what I want, right? So after this, the next thing we are going to do is to draw a line using the pen tool. So this is the pen tool over here. I'm going to click on it, make sure I have it selected, and over here I have to make sure it is on shape. All right, once it is on shape, I'll come here, fill, I'll select no color, no fill, and when it comes to the stroke, I'll select blue over here, right? And the size, I'm going to increase it to 10. It's okay, right? So now I'll start drawing what I have to draw, right? So I'll start from here, move up, all right, so let's say this is what I want to draw and I'm okay with it. All I have to do is to hit enter, and this is what I'm going to have over here. And for this layer at the bottom over here, I'm going to reduce the opacity of it a little bit. All right, 48 is fine. Now what I'm going to do next is to make sure I have this selected, right? I have the shape I just drew with my pen tool. I have it selected. Once it is selected, I'll go ahead and come here with the pen tool like this. I'll right click and go to make selection, then I'll hit enter, right? So with this selection, what I'm going to do is I'll come to this option where you can create new adjustment layer. I'll click on it, then go to solid color, right? So whichever color I selected will come right here. Okay, so I think I'm okay with this blue, so I'll click on OK, and over here I'll have to bring this below the shape like this, right? So for the shape, I'm going to add a drop shadow to it, a small drop shadow. So I'll come to Effect, go to Drop Shadow, and the layer will open up for me like this. So I think the drop shadow, I'm going to reduce the opacity of it a little bit. Let's say something like this. All right, so I'm going to hit OK. Then I'll come back to this particular layer and make sure I reduce the opacity of it a little bit. And with the layer mask selected over here, I'm going to tap on, I'm going to go to my brush tool again and clean some part of it. All right, I think that is enough. I have to reduce the opacity of the grid tool. And I'm going to change the color of this to black actually. So I'll go to color overlay and make it black. Good, I think I'm comfortable with this black, and then I'll further reduce the opacity. I'm going to add a layer mask to this particular grid tool, and once I've added a layer mask to it, I'm going to go to my shape, which is the line I've drawn with the pen tool. So I'm going to hit P on my keyboard, then I'll make another selection again because I want to clear part of the grid tools. I'll come back to the grid tool over here, make sure I select the layer mask right here. All right, after selecting it, I'll go to the brush tool over here. I'll reduce the opacity of the brush tool a little bit, then I'll start clearing this area. I think that is okay for now. Good. Once this is done, I'll just press Ctrl D to deselect my selection, right? So I'll press V to move on to the move tool, and once that is done, I think we are now ready to start the whole show. So what I'm going to do now is right click over here and make sure I select the rectangular tool over here and draw my shape that I want to draw. Okay, so let's go ahead and draw the shape right away. All right, I think this is okay, and I'm going to give it a color fill actually. So I'll make it white for now, and with a stroke, I'll make sure I disable the stroke. Then after this, I'll make sure I make the corners or the edges of it rounded a little bit, right? So I think that's okay. Now I have to push it to the top so that the color shows well, right? Good. So right now we have it at the top over here, and I think that's perfect. The next thing that we have to do is to add some bevel and emboss to it. So let's go to Effect and go to Bevel and Emboss and apply that feature to it right now, and let's see how it is going to look. So I'm going to make this place black. I'll increase the depth a little bit, and I think that is fine. So I'm going to go ahead and add some drop shadow to it as well. I think that is fine. So I'll click OK, and we are good to go. All right, so once we have our shape created over here like this, the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to make a duplicate of this particular shape. So I'm going to press Ctrl J, then I'll make a duplicate of it. Now I know you cannot see the duplicate. I'm going to press V and move the duplicate right here. What I'm going to do is press Ctrl T for the transformation tool, then I'll reduce the size of the duplicate, right? But let me just go back. You have to hold on Shift before you do this to keep the size okay. And I'm going to put it at the top of this. So the next thing I'm going to do, I'm just going to group these two elements for now. Press Ctrl and tap on a second rectangle and press Ctrl G to group it. Once I've grouped it, I'm going to make a duplicate of this group by pressing Ctrl J. Then I'll just hold Ctrl T and I'll move the second one to this side like this. All right, so now let's start with the whole magic that we want to do, right? So this is what we have, and this is what we want to do. So the other one is red and the other one is green. So let's do this. So with the top one selected over here, let's go to the rectangular tool again, and this time we are going to change the color from white to red. Okay, that's what you want to do. And for this second one over here, let me just show you this particular one. We are going to change the color to green. So let's do that quickly. I think I'm going to select a lighter version of the green. So we go all the way up right there. Okay, I think that is okay for now. Now let's close everything. Now the next thing that we have to do is to enter our text. So for the first one over here, which is the red one, I'm going to open this group over here and selecting a rectangle copy over here. I'm going to go to T, that is for the test, and yes, I'm going to enter a test over here. Example, let's make it the 15. Don't worry about the text color, we're going to change it right away. So we go to the text color over here and we're going to make it white. With the move tool selected, let's move this to here. Good, it's being well positioned now. The next text we are going to enter is views, right? So I think let's just go to text again, and all right, so let's enter the text views. Let's change it to a deep gray, something like this. Yeah, that's not a total black, but yeah, let's move it first to this place. Once it is here, I think let's change the font. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make a duplicate of this by holding on Alt and dragging it down. So I'm going to change it to, all right, so once I'm done with this part, what I'm going to do now is to reduce the opacity of this text a little bit to, let's say, yeah, 82 is fine, right? So what I'm going to do now is to make a duplicate of this text that I've entered over here. So from the 2 to 15, I'm going to make a duplicate of them, right? And I'll bring them here. Good, so I'm going to send them out of this group and bring them to the new group actually. Good, so they are right here. They are now in a new group over here. This is the text I'm referring to. So they are now in group 1. I moved them from group 1 main to the group 1 copy. So right now, let me just position them very well. All right, I think I'm okay right here. So I'm just going to change whatever I have to change. So let's say day 15, I'm going to change it to day 2. And the 2 views, I'm going to change it to, 10K. All right, I think I have to reduce the size a little bit. All right, at this point, we are almost done with everything that we have to do now. Let's see what we have to add again. So all you have to do over here now is to make sure you right click and change this to smart object. You do the same thing for group 1 main as well. You change it to smart object. So once it has been converted to smart object, now we can go ahead and play with it. So we go to edit and go to transform. Then we come to distort. All right, so we pull this up to wherever you want. Depends on what you prefer. You do the same thing over here too as well. All right, and now you hit the check mark over here and you go to group 1 copy. You go to free transform, that's edit. You go to transform and you go to distort again. Then you do the same thing over here as well. All right, it's pretty simple, right? Now let's go ahead and do the remaining thing that we have to do. But then I think this particular one, I will have to resize it again. All right, so let me just do that again. All right, at this point, I think we are pretty much ready to do the needful now. So I'm going to make a duplicate of this, Ctrl J. Once I've made a duplicate of it, this is a duplicate, it's under it, right? So with the duplicate selected, I'll go to filter and go to blur and I'll go to Gaussian blur. Then I think 27. All right, 20 is a fair deal for a blurriness. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to do the same thing to group 1 over here. So I'll do Ctrl J to make a copy of it. Go to the group 1, then go to filter. Because I've already used the Gaussian blur, it's already at the top. I just have to click on it and the same level of blurriness will be applied to the next, one over here, right? So with this done, I think the next thing to just bring in the arrow, which we will be using. So this is the arrow over here. Bring it in over here and reduce the size of it because we don't want anything big like that. With the arrow PNG, I'm going to do Ctrl J and make a copy of it as well, and also use the same Gaussian blur for it right here at the top. Good, I just have to hit OK and I'm good to go. And the last thing to do is to add some ellipse effect to it. So let's do that quickly. We come here with right click and select the ellipse tool. When you select it, hold on to, okay, first let's change the color First, we're going to use red. So let's select red, and for the stroke, we disable the stroke. Then you hold down Shift and draw your line, and this is what is going to appear, right? Once you are cool with it, just hit enter and you are good to go. Now we have to go and bring in our last element, which is this particular arrow over here, and we bring in right here. Once we reduce the size of it, we can just go and flip it, you know, in the edit button, so we don't have to struggle. So we go to edit and we go to transform, flip vertically. That's it. That's what we want. That is what we want. So I think we have to change the color of it to white. So I'm going to go to effect and go to color overlay and give it white. Select the color over here and select white. Now you know what we're going to do, right? We're going to select these two, group them, then we are going to make a copy of the group by Ctrl J, Ctrl T again. Then we move it to this side because we want a green version of it. So what we're going to do over it is to open the group. Once we open the group like this, we select the ellipse tool in a group. Then we go ahead and change the color to green, this green. Then this time around, we are going to flip back the arrow. So we go to edit again with the arrow selected, you go to transform, then flip vertically like this. All right. And if you want to add a glue effect to it, this is what you're going to do. Right, you just have to make a duplicate of this, Ctrl J, and make sure you select the down one. Then go to filter and select. All right, so once you've made a duplicate, just make sure you convert this to smart object. Then go to filter and select your Gaussian blur at the top right here, and that will be applied to this one over here. So I hit OK and I'm good to go. Now we do the same thing for the red as well. We go and we do Ctrl J and select the down one, convert it to smart object, then we go to filter, then Gaussian blur, and voila, that is it. So we've been able to create this simple YouTube, you know, banner in Photoshop, and it's very, very simple to do, right? So after this, you can just go ahead and save as. Then yeah, this option will pop up and you save it on your computer, right? So I'm not going to save it as a PSD. Of course, if you want to upload it onto YouTube, it doesn't have to be in PSD. You have to come to JPEG over here, then you hit save, and this option will pop up for you to save it, right? So I'm going to just hit OK, and that is it. It will be saved onto my PC, and if I go onto my thumbnails, I think you're going to see it right here. All right, I think it is this one right here. This is the one we just designed, right? So yeah, that is it, and I hope you do find this video helpful. If you do, kindly go ahead and hit that like on the video and also subscribe for more tutorials on this YouTube channel. I'll see you in the next video. Bless up.